My book was Before I Go to Sleep by S.J. Watson. I cry out, a wordless gasp that would turn into a shriek of shock were I to let it, and then notice the eyes. The skin around them is lined, yes, but despite everything, I can see that they are mine. The person in the mirror is me, but I am 20 years too old. 25. More. And that's from the beginning of the book. The main characters are Christine Lucas, Ben Lucas, and Dr. Nash. The main character is Christine Lucas. She's the center point of the book. We hear everything from her side and her point of view. She's an amnesiac, and she's got a special case of amnesia. For some reason, every time she goes to sleep, she wakes up the next day completely unaware of what happened the previous day, and there's like around 20-year gap of memory that she forgot. So whenever she wakes up, she either thinks she's like a teenager still or like in college. Ben Lucas is the supposed husband of Christine. He's a teacher and he's the main provider for Christine. He gives her some information whenever she asks for it. It's specifically whenever she asks for it. He doesn't give it to her straight away. And he usually looks uncomfortable whenever she asks questions. Dr. Nash is a neuropsychologist, and he works secretly with Christine to document her strange amnesia case, and he does it without Ben's knowledge. Ben isn't aware that Dr. Nash is helping Christine. So Christine loses her memory from a tragic incident, but it's not really truly confirmed what happened to her, but only in the first beginning half. Both Dr. Nash and Ben tell her that it was from a car crash, but she doesn't feel like that happened. Like, she tries to picture herself in that situation, but it doesn't really pop up in her mind. In one of her journals, she keeps a journal to write down information of previous days to keep track of things so she could help her amnesia and remembering things. And in the very first page, she wrote, "Do not trust Ben," and the reader and Christine isn't really sure if it's entirely true or not, or if it's just her being super paranoid. Christine finds out that she was a fiction writer, so whenever she does have a memory that pops back into mind, she isn't entirely sure if it's her own memory or if something her brain made up just to give her that satisfaction of having an explanation as to what happened, just to give her that peace of mind. Dr. Nash works with Christine without Ben's knowledge because he had reached out to Ben before, but Ben refused to let him work with Christine because he claims that they'd already done everything they could and he just doesn't want to deal with it. But Dr. Nash reached out to Christine personally while she was on a walk and basically kind of convinced her to allow him to document her case and run a few tests and give her some solutions that could possibly help her remember and keep track so she could have some chance of living a somewhat normal life. The entire middle part of the book is just Christine reading previous entries from her journal, and that's how we kind of pick up different clues and different incidents that she learns in real time with us as the reader. Dr. Nash gives her the idea of writing in the journal in the first place, and Dr. Nash always calls her Christine to remind her where she keeps her journal because she tells him where she's going to hide it just before she goes to sleep so that he's able to call her the next day so she can read the previous entries and record new ones. So if it weren't for him, she wouldn't be able to remember anything. So the first big problem is that the narrator herself, Christine, she's not very reliable. The main problem is that she doesn't remember anything, obviously. So who's to say that she's not just making things up and that everything's entirely true? Like, if Ben's telling her something and she doesn't believe it, who's to say it's not her just being super paranoid about things and she's just not trusting him? But on the other hand, the other problem is that Ben isn't entirely reliable either. He'll tell Christine one thing and then she'll find out or find evidence that contradicts that thing, and he'll have to go back and be like, well, yeah, that did happen. So he's obviously hiding something from her, and she doesn't know what it is or why, but he is, and it's kind of annoying. I don't really have a lot of personal connections with it, but it reminded me of the Adam Sandler movie 50 First Dates. That movie actually came out before the book, which is kind of funny to me because I like to imagine that the book was based off of the stupid Adam Sandler movie. It also kind of reminds me of Dory, just because she has memory loss sometimes. And a big part of the book is that Christine will find pictures or will go to places that will trigger a memory in her, which I can relate to. Like, I'll maybe find a video game or a picture, or I'll go to a certain place and it'll remind me of kind of my childhood or like earlier parts of my life. And it's always like hyper specific moments. It's never like one long coherent memory. It's just like one specific moment and I don't even really know why. The reading level, it really isn't that hard. Depending on what version you get, there might be some British versions of words that could trip you up if you don't know what it is. But thankfully that's not really too much of a case because I got the version where they edited that. The grammar isn't that bad because it's all in the voice of a middle-aged woman, so she's not going to be writing in long, unnecessarily grammatically intricate sentences. They're more easy to understand and kind of casual. There are some vulgar moments in it though, so I would be a little wary of those if that makes you uncomfortable. Would I recommend it? I guess so. If you're into super slow burns, mysteries that give you clues as the reader, and a kind of open to thinking what might have happened next, like endings, you might enjoy it. I didn't really like it. The main character kind of made me angry. I just didn't like how she handled certain things, and she was just kind of mean, and I didn't enjoy her too much. But I try to think about it. If I was in her situation, would I do the same things? And I'm not really sure. But I just don't like how she handled certain things, and I don't really agree. Dr. Nash was alright. I think he made it alright, because he was, I feel like, the most reasonable character. Ben also made me angry. I didn't like how nobody was giving her straight answers, and they wouldn't tell her until after she asks. But I also didn't like how she would get angry about it. I don't know. I didn't really like it that much.